When we were out in the foyer taking our shoes off, Benai and Elizabeth came in and she said, this week has been so wonderful, it feels like Christmas. And doesn't it? It has that same holy feeling where we've all been gathering together and meditating more and more deeply and focusing on our spiritual life more. It's nice to have these periodic holy seasons during the year to take us deeper and keep us connected. I wanted to acknowledge the Dwapara Yuga Yogi of the Day Award goes to Kent Williams for sending a link so that you can download. He would be happy to send this to you. You can download for your iPhone or iPod a gratitude journal where you can write down your thoughts each day on gratitude. So whether you download it for your iPod, iPhone or not, it's a nice thing to do. It'd be very nice to write down a few thoughts each day of gratitude during the day. Carry a little pad with you. Swamiji called this morning, and they have returned from Goa, and he's feeling quite well. And he just talked briefly, but we did tell him about the week, and he said, excuse me, to be sure to send his love to everyone. And he was very, very happy to hear that we were all doing this together and that it was going so well. So I'm conveying his greetings to you. So this morning's topic is probably the most important of all the topics for the week. It's on attunement with the Guru. And everything else really is subsidiary to this. Our techniques are subsidiary to it. We do the techniques because that's what Master has told us to do in this incarnation. In another incarnation, he might come with a different set of instructions for us. I don't think he would presumably come with instructions that would be different from meditate, because meditation is really the stilling of the mind and going into our own selves where we contact our deeper nature, our soul nature. So the essence of the spiritual path for all times and all places is really this, as Swami has explained, that creation comes out from God and is a manifestation of His consciousness. And the essence of the spiritual path is to become aware of that fact and aware of the fact that you are an expression of God and to reunite with Him. And it doesn't matter what galaxy you're in. It doesn't matter whether you have arms or tentacles. The essence of the spiritual path is going to be the same everywhere because creation is in essence the same everywhere. And so it's that one great truth that the Masters come. Now the way they suggest that we achieve that varies according to the level of consciousness and according to in the Earth moving around toward the center of the galaxy and away in this great cycle of 24,000 years. At different times there will be different methods to achieve that realization. But the essence of all religion is self-realization, the realization of the self as God, as an extension of God, and the unity that comes with that. Along with that consciousness, along with that realization, there comes a consciousness that is uniform. And that consciousness, described by Shankaracharya, is one of bliss, one of existence, and one of awareness. So Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. And when we reunite with our essential nature, that becomes our essential consciousness. All human activities can really be seen as a kind of echo of trying to achieve that state. So the whole Darwinianism and all of the science programs you see about the fact that life is trying to maintain itself in a variety of ways, all of the Malthusian economics and all of that is basically an expression in this world of the fact that we have eternal existence in this world because the ego has limited our consciousness and we are subject to the vicissitudes of life. We become insecure in our existence. And we think that when we die, we actually die, which we don't, but we think we do, or we feel that we do, or we have fears about that. And so a huge amount of the drama of life is to perpetuate our existence or perpetuate the existence of the species and so on. Another huge part of life, especially as we become more and more evolved on the scale, is to become increasingly aware of things, curiosity. And there's built into even the lowest of life forms a certain kind of curiosity, a certain kind of desire to experience something new and different. But Master also, so that's a second part of it. We experience that, we do that, in part by trying to learn new things, but also mainly, I would say, by trying to stimulate the consciousness. That's the whole of the entertainment industry. What is it all about? It's producing something that stimulates the consciousness and especially the emotions. And, you know, how many hours a day are people spending? Because by the time we have evolved to being who and where we are in a relatively settled world, in a relatively safe environment where we don't have to work all the time, we could, I mean the culture could, take all of its free time and do what Master suggested. Don't work as much more than what you really need to, and spend the rest of your time meditating and seeking God. Somehow that message hasn't gone over. Even though he taught in Hollywood, Hollywood is not quite on board with that message. And so most of the time is just filled in with diversion and fillers, and all of that is to stimulate the consciousness because we find innate pleasure in having our consciousness and our emotions stimulated. And so there are many people out there willing to be paid to do that for us. And then the final thing Master said is that just existence and just awareness are not enough, because if that were true, it would be a very, very dry world. He said that the third is that there is an innate desire because our very nature is joy, and there's an innate desire to seek joy. For most people, that's seeking happiness. The difference between happiness and joy is that happiness is found by having in your mind a preset condition. And then when that condition is fulfilled, then you're happy. And so you're going along, as Swami gives the example, you're going along perfectly happy on a walk out in the nature, and you begin to think, oh, wouldn't it be nice to photograph nature, to take pictures of this scenery and flowers, and so you want a camera. And so the desire comes in, and then you're unsettled, you're unhappy to a certain extent because that desire is unfulfilled. So you work, finally fulfill the desire, then you're happy for a little while. But boredom sets in, and you create more desires and more desires and more desires. But it's all beneath it. It is kind of the reflected echo of the fact that our true nature is joy, and we're trying to get back to that joy. Joy comes not because of outward conditions, but because of the connection that we have with our own deeper nature, again, which the techniques and the practice of the spiritual path is meant to bring us. All of this progress toward the state of self-realization, or the state of the remembrance and the immersion back into Satchitananda, comes most rapidly because of the Guru. The Guru, it's like he has the treasure map. The treasure is our own deep consciousness, and he's got the map of how we find that. And he brings us that map, and we can follow the map. But the map isn't something outward. It isn't that we can go from this place to that place to that place. It's rather an inward journey. And it's a journey I always have been originally amused by, and amused every time I remember it. Ananta, during one of the spiritual renewal weeks, said, a lot of people think the spiritual path is long. The spiritual path isn't long. You want to know how long the spiritual path is? About 3 feet long. It's from the base of your spine to your spiritual eye. And it's a wonderful description. That's how long it is, because it has to do with our own nervous system and our own, the real holy of the holies is our own evolved nervous system, which has become evolved enough for us to experience the state of self-realization. And so the masters come, and our Guru came, in order to give us the methodology so that we can journey along that pathway of consciousness. Our job, most importantly, is to attune our consciousness and our vibration to Master. Remember the other day we were saying that, quoting Master, that thoughts are universally, not individually rooted. And so our perception of reality isn't created by our own minds, but it's rather perceived, and one could say distorted by our own minds. So like we tune into a radio station, well, attuning to Master attunes us to the right radio station. Given our own devices, we're somewhere down the dial in the lower numbers down there with a different kind of programming going on. So attunement with the Guru is really to get our consciousness aligned with his. When we use the word to tune in or to tune, it's like a musical note. If someone hits a C on the piano, the reason that note sounds that way is the sound has a certain wavelength, and that wavelength produces the pitch of C. A piano will produce the pitch of C when the note is struck, and it'll sound like C on a piano. A tuba can hit that same note, and so it's the same wavelength, but it sounds differently because of the instrument. And so we tune into Master by getting on the same wavelength as his consciousness. But because God is playing the same song through different instruments, one playing the song, playing self-awareness or self-realization through Master, and then trying to play that same note through us, it sounds differently, it looks differently, it feels differently, but it all is working together. So the fastest way for us to get there is by attuning our consciousness to the Guru. Master said that he said there were 2 highest prayers. One was, Father, give me thyself that I may give thee to all. And so that prayer it's essentially a prayer for self-realization, but praying in such a way that you don't condense it and contract it down into your own separate self, but rather you then become a channel for that to spread outwardly. And the second prayer, he said, that was the highest prayer, is I will reason, I will act. But guide thou my thought, reason, activity to the right path in everything. And that right reason, but guide thou, is who's guiding that? Master's guiding it. And so that prayer to the Guru has to become more than just words. It has to become a living reality. There's a beautiful book, it's the Pilgrim, the Way of the Pilgrim. It's about a Russian young man who goes through some very difficult period of time, and he wants something to be able to hold on to. And so he goes to a staret, or a teacher, a guru, and the guru tells him to repeat the prayer, Jesus Christ, have mercy upon me, and to continue to repeat that. And he tells him to get a kind of, mala, what we would call a mala, and to repeat it first 100 times a day, and come back in a week. And he comes back, and then he tells him 500 times a day, then 1,000 times a day, then 10,000. It works up to 10,000 times a day. And the book talks about the transformation of his consciousness as he does that. And then he says, now you can put away your beads, just repeat it continuously. And he said the very beating of his heart was doing that prayer. And if he awoke in the middle of the night, his heart was still beating and the prayer was still going on. And it became a continual, constant flow of energy in him. And so as we turn our consciousness, here was a simple prayer, but for us, as we turn our consciousness toward the Guru, toward Master, and tune into him more and more deeply all the time, and the more we do that, the more times during a day. Start out, we all meditate daily, we all pray daily, but also try to remember Master and try to make a conscious decision, a conscious intention to attune your consciousness to him many, many times during the day. There, he talked about, I believe it was Master Mahashaya, who his guru was Ramakrishna. Every time he came to any body of water, he stopped and meditated there. And he said, because my guru told me to do this. So you can have little reminders. Another one is any time that you pass and see a picture of Master, to stop and consciously make an intention and a connection and attuning your will to him. This is really the essence of our spiritual path. I wanted to read a couple of things from Master. This is from the essence of the science of the essence of self-realization, which are sayings. Master told Swamiji to write down what he said during the day, and then Swami had lots and lots of notes of things that Master had said, and he combined those into this book. Beautiful, beautiful book. Probably what got us in trouble with SRF. Paramahansa Yogananda, this is the disciples part. Paramahansa Yogananda said, when I met my Guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, he said to me, allow me to discipline you. Why, sir? I inquired. When I encountered my Guru, Lahiri Mahashaya, he replied, my will was guided by whims. But when I attuned my will to Lahiri Mahashaya's wisdom-guided will, my own will became free, because guided by wisdom. In the same way, Yogananda continued, I discovered that by attuning my will to Sri Yukteswar's wisdom-guided will, my will too became free. This is the purpose of discipleship and of the obedience that it entails. The aim of obedience to the Guru is not to enslave the disciple, but to liberate his will from that which enslaves it truly, whims, and much more, bondage to likes and dislikes, and to desires and attachments. Most people consider it an affirmation of free will to indulge their desires freely. They don't see that desire itself is compulsive. It blinds their discrimination. Where is the freedom in any act that leads one more deeply into delusion? Spiritual healing requires willing cooperation on the disciple's part. It cannot be achieved by passivity. Surrender to the divine will, as expressed through the Guru, must be offered freely, willingly, and intelligently. I'll read that again. Surrender to the divine will, as expressed through the Guru, must be offered freely, willingly, and intelligently. Unenlightened teachers often try to impose their will on the disciples. Freedom can never be achieved in this way, even if the advice given is essentially valid. To impose one's will on another is wrong, spiritually, like the practice of hypnosis, which weakens the will of the person hypnotized. Obedience must be to the highest that is in your own self. Spiritual instruction, too, must proceed from that high level of consciousness. It must be attuned to the guidance for which your soul is longing. The difference between such wisdom-inspired guidance and human discrimination based on introspection is that the unenlightened mind is clouded by likes and dislikes and conditioned by past habits and old ways of looking at things. The Guru's consciousness, on the other hand, is like a flawless mirror. It reflects the disciple's spiritual state back to him. It gives him what he needs to escape the bondage of delusion. Cooperation with the Guru strengthens the willpower immeasurably, for it attunes the disciple's will to the infinite will of God. And so there's the essence of it, to attune our will to the Guru's wisdom-guided will, joy-guided will, love-guided will. So how do we do it? In meditation, we can do it. Master suggested this as a practice, that you visualize the Guru, and especially you visualize his eyes. And then in that visualization of his eyes, you try to feel that you're tuning your consciousness. Master said the eyes are the windows of the soul, so that you feel that you're attuning your will. You can even try to feel that you're making your eyes feel like his eyes, that your gaze is becoming like his gaze. You know, if you want one way of feeling what another person is feeling, mimic their expression. And you'll begin, if you can mimic, the more closely you can mimic their expression, the more you'll be able to feel what they're feeling. You see somebody that's like, and you're going along perfectly happy, if you go mimic their expression, you'll begin to feel they've got some distaste, some sourness. So mimic Master's expression. Mimic his eyes. Try to make your eyes feel like he's looking out from your eyes, or your eyes are becoming like his. But also magnetically, that means magnetically means with energy. Master said will is energy, desire plus energy directed toward a particular goal. So we're attuning our will. So we're attuning our desire plus energy directed toward a particular goal. In this case, our desire is attunement with the Guru. Our will, and so we put energy into that. And that energy and will together, intention, desire, produces a magnetism. In this case, the desire to have our consciousness be completely in tune with Master's. And so you practice that, looking into his eyes and drawing that consciousness into yourself. And then he said, feel in your heart for his vibration, for his feeling. And so it's a very powerful practice if you do it. You can't do it just quickly and have it be very powerful. But if you do it deeply, really visualize for as long and as clearly as you can hold it. Master said that visions can be produced, true visions can be produced by holding the consciousness in a visualization for long enough and powerfully enough. That's the way masters manifest things, is that they visualize it, but they hold it powerfully enough so that it draws that energy into manifestation. What we're trying to do is draw the energy of connection into manifestation in our own heart. And then it's very important, just stop putting out, projecting your will, and become receptive and try to feel in your heart that your heart is completely open to Master and that you're trying to have him enter into your heart. He said that when he was a young boy, remember the time when he was healed magically by looking at the picture of Lahiri Mahashaya, and it came to life and he was instantaneously healed of life-threatening disease. He said that there was also a time when he was a boy when he was praying very deeply to Lahiri Mahashaya, and he felt Lahiri, that consciousness, actually enter into his heart. And from that time on, he said his consciousness was never the same. And so it's not just something that's like a symbolic, oh, isn't that fun kind of practice. It's a very real thing that if we can draw the vibration of the Guru into the heart, that's why Swami in the Purification Festival, Purification Ceremony, has said, open your heart to me and I will enter and take charge of your life. That's kind of an outward symbolic way of this deeper, real practice of visualizing Master, attuning to him, and then drawing him into your heart and feeling his presence there. The more you do that, the more you do it deeply, deeply in meditation, and then to repeat that periodically during the day, it is a very powerful, perhaps the most powerful way of attuning to the Guru. So when you pass a picture of Master, don't just glance. Look deeply into his eyes, even if it takes you only 30 seconds. Look into his eyes and try to feel his presence in your heart, and that will keep that vibration going. There are other ways, obviously, to read Master's writings, to read, and because Swami has been such a perfect channel of discipleship for us, to tune into Swami. This, I think, above all, is the greatest spiritual gift that he has given us, is his incredible discipleship to Master. I've mentioned before that some years ago, he said that I used to pray that every thought and every action that I had be attuned to Master. He said, then I realized that wasn't enough. And then I prayed that every thought, every action, every feeling, everything in my consciousness be attuned to Master. And he's lived his life that way to the point where now he says, I'm not sure where Kriyananda stops and Master begins, because it really feels like it's one entity now. Another thing he said recently is, and that Master was such a powerful radiating source of love. He said that the reason he came on earth was to bring God's love to everyone. And that powerful radiating source of God's love from Master. Swami has expressed that in many ways, in little ways to people, and it's very good. Master said the path that he brought was a combination of meditation and service. One way of serving is through kindness, through caring, through helping. And Swami has, for years, it's been amazing. If you walk with him or are with him and he goes into a store, he doesn't treat the clerk in the store like some automaton, or he doesn't get upset if the clerk isn't fast. He creates a connection. And a lot of times it's just a little question or a little comment. Oh, what a beautiful blue in that brooch you're wearing. Where did you get that? Just enough to begin to create a connection so that the person opens to him and begins to express. It's a very, that shedding, the conscious, I don't think it's even has to be a decision in his mind anymore. It's become such a habitual thing just to shed a little bit of kindness and a little bit of joy and a little bit of connection and love everywhere. And he said that when he was in Goa, he was looking around, and it looked really like everybody he saw was an old friend of his, as if he were remembering them from a past life. And so that opening of the heart to receive Master, and then the opening of the heart to offer Master out, is a very, very deep and powerful practice. If we can attune our consciousness to Master, we will have 9/10 of the spiritual path finished for us. The rest, I'm not sure what the rest is. I wanted to end by reading this beautiful passage from Master, "When I am only a dream." It's one of his most beautiful prayers for disciples. "I come to tell you all of him, and the way to encase him in your bosom, and of the discipline that brings his grace. Those of you who have asked me to guide you to my beloved's presence, I warn you through my silently talking mind, or speak to you through a gentle, significant glance. By the way, his picture will speak to you if you ask it to. That gentle, significant glance. If you form this relationship, his picture will give you those gentle, significant glances. Or whisper to you through my love, or loudly dissuade you when you stray away from him. But when I shall become only a memory, or a mental image, or silently speaking voice, when no earthly call will ever reveal my whereabouts in unplumbed space, when no shallow entreaty or stern stentorian command will bring from me an answer, I will smile in your mind when you are right, and when you are wrong, I will weep through my eyes, dimly peering at you in the dark, and weep through your eyes, perchance. And I will whisper to you through your conscience. When your conscience speaks, accept it as Master speaking to you. And I will whisper to you through your conscience. And I will reason with you through your reason. And I will love all through your love. And when you are able no longer to talk with me, read my whispers from eternity. Eternally through it, I will talk to you. Unknown, I will walk by your side and guard you with invisible arms. And as soon as you know my beloved and hear his voice in silence, you will know me again more tangibly than you ever knew me on this earth plane. And yet, when I am only a dream to you, I will come to remind you that you too are naught but a dream in my heavenly beloved, a dream of my heavenly beloved, And when you know you are a dream, as I know now, we will ever be awake in Him.